It's been a wild turnaround for the Denver Broncos. Not long ago, this team was written off by the national media, but now the narrative is changing. After a 5-game win streak with Russell Wilson and a playoff run led by one of the youngest rosters in the league, despite carrying the largest dead cap hit in NFL history, the Broncos are turning heads. They crushed the offseason, nailed the draft, and have built serious momentum heading into the new season. In fact, some national outlets are finally catching on. The Broncos are now ranked as the 4th best team in the AFC heading into the year. This video breaks down why that ranking might actually be too low. We'll look at the Broncos' schedule, some under-the-radar advantages, and key matchups that could define the season, even before the official schedule drops next week. Here's a major win. The Broncos get to host the Tennessee Titans, widely expected to be one of the league's worst teams this year. On top of that, they'll face off against the 12th, 13th, and 14th worst-ranked teams in the AFC, and they'll play some of those matchups twice. That's a huge break. Even better, Denver is set to play the Colts in what looks like a neutral site game in Germany, potentially removing the Colts' home field advantage. Compared to last season's brutal stretch of opponents, this year's schedule looks far more manageable. Now let's talk quarterback. Bo Nix, once doubted, is now being recognized on a national level. He's ranked as the 5th best fantasy QB prospect by Bleacher Report heading into the season. With the same offensive coordinator returning and the stability of working under Sean Payton, Nix has the continuity and support to make a strong impact right out of the gate. Things just keep getting better for the Denver Broncos. Not only is Bo Nix stepping into a great situation with stability on offense, he's also surrounded by serious weapons. And on the other side of the ball, the defense is getting national recognition. According to Pro Football Focus, Denver could have the best defense in the entire NFL this season. It's not hard to see why. Last year, the Broncos finished with the 3rd best defense in the league. This offseason, they added linebacker Dre Greenlaw and safety Talanoa Hufanga, 2 proven playmakers. On top of that, they landed a steal in the draft. Cornerback Jade Barron, who many believe should have been a top 10 pick, somehow fell to number 20, with national analysts praising the Broncos as a top 4 AFC team, a potential top 5 quarterback, and now possibly the number 1 defense in the league. Momentum is clearly on Denver's side. The front office also made some smart moves on offense. Tight end Evan Engram joins the squad, adding another dangerous target in the passing game. And rookie running back R.J. Harvey could be a breakout star. A recent analysis compared running backs from recent draft classes based on their performance against stacked boxes. Despite facing loaded fronts, Harvey stood out with elite production, something that bodes well given Denver's upgraded passing attack. Now that opposing defenses have to account for threats like Engram in a deep receiving core, they won't be able to stack the box like they did before. That gives Harvey and fellow back Audric Estime a real chance to shine this season. And while some fans were concerned when standout back Omarion Hampton was drafted by the Chargers, the numbers show that Harvey was more productive despite facing tougher defensive looks. Hampton produced less against lighter boxes, while Harvey delivered consistently against aggressive fronts. All signs point to the Broncos having a balanced, explosive offense and a defense ready to dominate. This team is built to compete on both sides of the ball. There's even more reason for Broncos fans to feel optimistic heading into the season. Let's start with the schedule. Based on last year's win percentages, analysts have ranked the toughest and easiest schedules in the league, and Denver lands right in the middle with the 15th most difficult slate. What's important is this: both the Chiefs and the Chargers have tougher roads ahead. Kansas City and Los Angeles are tied for the 11th hardest schedules. That's a big edge for the Broncos, especially when you consider playoff opponents. Denver will face only 8 teams that made the playoffs last year, compared to 9 for the Chargers and 10 for the Chiefs. Even better, the Broncos get 9 home games and only 8 on the road. Denver has always thrived at home, particularly early in the season, thanks to the altitude advantage. Add in Sean Payton, who has one of the best win records in NFL history during October, and that home-heavy setup becomes even more valuable. There's also growing belief that the game against the Colts will be played in Germany during Week 10, followed by a Week 11 bye. If that happens, it's a perfect setup. The Broncos avoid an early bye, which often leads to injury issues later in the season. and essentially gain an extra neutral field game. That would leave Denver with just 7 true road games and 10 either at home or on neutral ground. Another key advantage. Now compare that to a team like the Chargers. They're based on the West Coast, and studies have shown that long distance travel impacts performance. Denver saw this last year when they stayed on the East Coast during back-to-back road games to avoid racking up travel fatigue. That kind of planning pays off, especially when you're trying to outpace division rivals in a tight AFC West race. The combination of a manageable schedule, travel advantages, and smart coaching strategy puts the Broncos in a great position heading into the season. Let's dive deeper into why the Broncos have a real edge in the AFC West this season, starting with what our division rivals are up against. The Chargers are set for a brutal travel schedule. They'll have to fly cross-country to Florida twice, travel to New York, and head to Dallas. That likely puts them among the teams with the most flight miles in the NFL. Travel fatigue is real, and it adds up fast over the course of a season. Their home slate isn't any easier. The Chargers will host tough opponents like the Eagles, Commanders, Steelers, Texans, Vikings, plus their divisional matchups against Denver and Kansas City. That's a rough lineup. Given the combination of difficult travel and a stacked home schedule, don't be surprised if the Chargers struggle to keep up. As for the Chiefs, their path looks a bit lighter than last season's, at least on paper. Last year, they had a crazy stretch with 4 games in 2 weeks due to the Christmas Day schedule. This year, it's more balanced, but still far from easy. Kansas City has to travel to face elite teams like the Bills and Cowboys, and they'll also log a lot of air miles. At home, they'll go up against strong competition, including the Lions, Ravens, Eagles, Commanders, and Texans. No easy wins there either. Now compare that to Denver's outlook. The Broncos faced the team with the worst record in the league last year, a struggling Jaguars squad, and a Giants team projected to have the toughest schedule in the NFL. Depending on when we face them, the Giants might be worn down or even dealing with major injury issues, similar to what we saw last year with the Browns rotating quarterbacks late in the season. Everything is aligning for Denver. A favorable schedule, manageable travel, and strong offseason moves are all working in our favor. It's why the Broncos are earning top 5 quarterback praise, being called the steal of the draft, and projected to have the league's best defense. The momentum is real, and it's building fast.